Most people don't fail because they do something wrong. They fail because they do nothing right every single day. Think about that. Failure is not one big mistake. Failure is 1,000 small bad habits repeated over time. And success works exactly the same way. Let me ask you something. Why do some people rise from nothing and build incredible lives, while others, just as smart, just as capable, stay stuck forever? It's not luck, it's not intelligence, it's not where they were born. It is what they do every day. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day." That means your future is not decided by one big moment. It is decided by what you do when no one is watching. What time you wake up, what you read, what you eat, what you think about, what you practice. Those small things seem meaningless today, but they decide everything tomorrow. Most people want a big breakthrough. They want to wake up one day and suddenly be rich, suddenly confident, suddenly successful. But that is not how life works. Life does not change in explosions. Life changes in quiet, invisible improvements. One page read today, one workout today, one new skill learned today, one decision to stop wasting time today. No one sees it, no one applauds it, but those small actions are building a completely new you. And one day, the world will see the result. But here's the problem. Most people don't fail because they are weak. They fail because they are careless with small things. They sleep 30 minutes longer. They skip one workout. They delay one task. They scroll instead of study. They watch instead of work. None of these destroy your life today, but they are silently destroying your future. Jim Rohn called this the danger of neglect. Neglecting your health, neglecting your skills, neglecting your mindset, neglecting your time. You don't have to ruin your life to fail. You just have to do nothing meaningful long enough. And one day you wake up and realize you became exactly what your habits created. Now, let me ask you something important. If you continue living exactly the way you live right now, where will you be in 5 years? Same job, same income, same problems, same excuses. Or will you finally be proud of yourself? Because the truth is this, your future is being built today by the smallest things you do. Jim Rohn said, "Every day you either plant good seeds or bad seeds. You will harvest what you plant. If you plant laziness, you harvest regret. If you plant discipline, you harvest freedom." And discipline is not something dramatic. It is waking up when you don't feel like it. It is reading when you could be scrolling. It is training when you could be resting. It is working when you could be distracted. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. And that choice, repeated every day, creates an unstoppable life. Right now, someone with less talent than you is winning simply because they are more disciplined. They read more, they practice more, they prepare more, they show up more. Not because they are better, but because they are consistent. And consistency is what builds power. You don't need a miracle, you don't need permission, you don't need luck. You need to decide that your life matters enough to take small actions seriously. Because one day, those small actions will become a big success. And that day starts right now.
Most people grow up believing a lie about success. They believe success is something that happens suddenly. One big opportunity, one lucky break, one powerful connection, one viral moment. They believe that one day life will finally change. But Jim Rohn said something that completely destroys this idea. You don't change your life in one day. You change it in small steps every day. And that truth is uncomfortable because it means your future is not in the hands of luck. It is in the hands of your habits. Most people want dramatic change. They want overnight success. But real success is boring. It is waking up early when you don't feel like it. It is reading when you could be watching videos. It is practicing when you could be relaxing. It is working when no one is clapping. That's why most people never become successful, because they are addicted to comfort. Let me explain something powerful. You do not ruin your life in one big mistake. You ruin it in small, invisible ways. Sleeping 30 minutes too long, skipping one workout, delaying one goal, eating one bad meal, ignoring one opportunity to learn. None of these seem dangerous today, but together they create a future you don't want. Jim Rohn called this the law of accumulation. Everything adds up. Every book you don't read, every hour you waste, every skill you don't build, every time you choose comfort over discipline, it all adds up. And one day you wake up and say, "Why is my life like this?" But it didn't happen overnight. It happened one lazy decision at a time. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Success is built the same way, not in big explosions, but in small, repeated actions. Reading just 10 pages a day, saving a little money every week, learning one new thing every day, practicing your craft, working on your dream even when no one sees it. Small actions, but they build big results. Jim Rohn said, "Success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day, while failure is a few simple errors in judgment repeated every day." Notice something important. Both success and failure are simple. Neither one is complicated. It's the small choices you make when nobody is watching. Most people think watching TV for one more hour doesn't matter. Skipping a workout doesn't matter. Not reading today doesn't matter. But tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And suddenly your life is built by the habits you ignored. You become what you practice. If you practice comfort, you become weak. If you practice discipline, you become powerful. That's why success is not about talent. It's about standards. What do you do when you don't feel like it? Do you still show up? That is where winners are created, not in motivation, but in discipline. Because motivation comes and goes, but discipline builds destiny. So if you are waiting for a big moment to change your life, you are believing the lie. Your life changes the moment you change what you do every day. And the smallest habits are shaping your biggest future.
Jim Rohn once said something that should shake every human being awake. We must all suffer one of two things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Let that sink in. Pain is unavoidable in life. You will suffer. The only question is, which pain will you choose? The pain of discipline or the pain of regret? Discipline hurts. Waking up early hurts. Going to the gym hurts. Studying when others are relaxing hurts. Saying no to distractions hurts. Working on your dreams instead of scrolling hurts. But here's the difference. Discipline hurts now. Regret hurts forever. Regret is waking up one day and realizing you never became who you could have been. Regret is knowing you had the ability, you had the time, you had the opportunity, but you didn't use it. Imagine being 50 or 60 years old. You look back at your life. You remember all the dreams you once had, the business you wanted to start, the body you wanted to build, the skills you wanted to learn, the life you wanted to live. And then you realize you didn't fail, you just never tried hard enough. That pain is heavier than any workout, heavier than any early morning, heavier than any sacrifice. Jim Rohn said, "Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons." And most people choose regret because it is invisible in the beginning. Skipping today feels easy. Procrastinating feels comfortable. Delaying feels harmless.
But that comfort becomes a prison, and one day you wake up trapped inside a life you never wanted. Discipline is uncomfortable, but it creates freedom. Regret is comfortable, but it creates chains. Think about this. Every successful person you admire chose discipline. They chose to wake up early. They chose to train when tired. They chose to learn when confused. They chose to work when others rested. Not because they were special, but because they were committed. They knew something most people ignore. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Every time you don't feel like working, that is a test. Every time you want to quit, that is a test. Every time you choose comfort over growth, that is a test. And your future is decided by how you answer those tests. Jim Rohn said, "If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And their plan for you is to stay average, to stay tired, to stay distracted, to stay small." Discipline is how you escape that. You don't become strong in one day. You become strong by choosing discipline on the days you don't feel like it. You don't become successful in one moment. You become successful by choosing discipline in 1,000 small moments. So let me ask you something. When your alarm rings, do you choose discipline or regret? When it's time to work, do you choose discipline or regret? When it's time to improve yourself, do you choose discipline or regret? Because one day you will feel the result of that choice. And the greatest tragedy in life is not failure. It is realizing you never truly tried. Let me tell you a truth that will completely change how you see success. Success is not built by giant actions. It is built by small habits repeated every day. Most people underestimate what small habits can do because they don't see results immediately. They go to the gym for 1 week and quit. They read one book and stop. They try one new skill and give up. Why? Because the results are invisible at the beginning. But Jim Rohn understood something most people never realize. Small disciplines done daily create massive results over time. Let me give you an example. Imagine you improve just 1% every day. 1% more focus, 1% more effort, 1% more discipline, 1% more learning. After one day, nothing changes. After 1 week, you barely notice. After 1 month, still small. But after 1 year, you are not a little better. You are 37 times better. That is how success really works. Slow, quiet, invisible. Until one day, everyone calls it overnight success. But it was never overnight. It was built by small habits. Jim Rohn believed more in personal development than in money, luck, or opportunity. He said, "Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better." Think about that. Most people pray for life to become easier, but successful people work to become stronger. Because when you become better, everything becomes easier. More skills, more opportunities, more discipline, more confidence, more knowledge, more income. You don't change your life by changing your environment. You change your life by changing yourself. And that happens through habits. Reading a little every day, thinking a little every day, training your body, training your mind, training your attitude. These things seem small, but they are shaping your future. Let me ask you something. What is one small habit you do every day? Scrolling? Complaining? Procrastinating? Or learning, working, growing? Because whatever you practice, you become. Jim Rohn said, "We are all becoming something. What are you becoming?" If you practice laziness, you become weak. If you practice discipline, you become unstoppable. Your habits are voting for your future every day. One bad habit won't ruin your life, but repeated bad habits will. One good habit won't change your life, but repeated good habits will. That's the power of accumulation. One book won't make you smart, but 100 books will. One workout won't make you fit, but 300 workouts will. 1 hour of practice won't make you great, but thousands of hours will. Small habits, big future. And the best part? You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to start. Start waking up 30 minutes earlier. Start reading 10 pages a day. Start moving your body. Start learning one new skill. Start improving just a little. Because that little, repeated every day, will create a completely new life. Jim Rohn said, "Success is not something you chase, it is something you attract by the person you become." And the person you become is built by your habits. So if you want a better life, don't look for a miracle. Build better habits, because small habits create big success.
Whatever you do every day, you become. Read that again. Not what you wish, not what you talk about, not what you dream about. What you practice. If you practice waking up late, you become slow. If you practice avoiding work, you become weak. If you practice excuses, you become small. But if you practice discipline, you become powerful. Jim Rohn said, "Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going." And that sentence explains why most people fail. They wait to feel motivated. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the perfect mood. But motivation is unreliable. Some days you feel inspired. Some days you feel tired. Some days you feel lazy. Some days you feel nothing. If you only act when you feel motivated, your life will be controlled by your emotions. But discipline is different. Discipline is showing up even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when no one is watching. And that's where true character is built. Let me tell you something important. Your future is being created in private. Not when people are clapping, not when people are watching, but when you are alone. When you choose to read instead of scroll, when you choose to train instead of rest, when you choose to work instead of procrastinate, that is where you become who you are. Nobody sees those moments, but they decide everything. You don't suddenly become successful, you slowly practice success. You don't suddenly become confident, you slowly practice courage. You don't suddenly become strong, you slowly practice discipline. Every day is a training session for your life. What are you training? Your excuses or your excellence? Your comfort or your future? Jim Rohn said, "We are all becoming something." What are you becoming? Look at your daily habits. They are not small. They are shaping your destiny. The way you speak to yourself, the way you treat your time, the way you respond to challenges, the way you handle discomfort. These things are building the person you are becoming. If you practice quitting, you will become a quitter. If you practice pushing through, you will become unstoppable. If you practice being average, you will live an average life. If you practice being excellent, you will live an extraordinary life. And here is the truth most people never accept. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. You may want success. You may dream of greatness.
but your habits decide where you end up. That's why discipline is more powerful than motivation. Motivation makes you start. Discipline makes you finish. And winners are not the ones who feel good all the time. Winners are the ones who keep going, even when it feels hard, even when they are tired, even when they are bored, even when they want to quit. Because that is when transformation happens. So ask yourself, what am I practicing every day? Because whatever you practice, you become. And the life you will live tomorrow is being created by the habits you choose today.
So let me ask you something. Not a casual question, but a serious one. What small discipline will you start today? Not tomorrow, not next week, not when life gets easier. Today. Because your life is not shaped by big dreams. It is shaped by small actions. One book, one workout, one skill, one focused hour, one brave decision. That is how everything changes. Jim Rohn said, "Your life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change." And change does not come from wishing, it comes from doing. Right now, your future is watching you. Every excuse you make, every habit you repeat, every moment you waste, every effort you give. Your future self will either thank you or regret you. And that decision is being made right now. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do something. Start small, but start today. Read 10 pages, walk 20 minutes, turn off distractions, write your goals, learn one new thing. Because discipline is not heroic, it is daily. And daily actions build extraordinary lives. Jim Rohn said, "Success is not something you chase, it is something you attract by the person you become." And the person you become is built by what you do when no one is watching. So before this video ends, make a decision, a real decision. What habit will you begin today? Write it down, commit to it, protect it. Because small disciplines create big success. And if this message spoke to you, don't just listen, act. Your new life is waiting on the other side of one small step. Take it.